It's podcast time. Yes, I've been missing on the podcast front, but I'm back, guys. And my first podcast to break this period of is all about generational wealth. And I think this topic is vital because when I was growing up, I just wasn't as financially, I feel, that I should have been. When you look back retrospectively, and I think about how much money I wasted on rubbish and just understanding about terms such as assets and what a pension actually means, and how much we should be trying to pension in our savings, talking about investments, high risk, low risk, and I think that this is a really important topic for future children, and this is what this book is all about. It's not just about building generational wealth, but it's about how you communicate that to your children. So it's my absolute pleasure to introduce to you the author of the book, Chantel Nyame Bankole. I hope you enjoy the podcast, guys. But yes, thank you so much again for joining me.
No problem, no
So
problem.
I will introduce you. You're Chantel.
Yep,
Welcome to the Turning Point podcast with me, Dion.
thank you.
And again, when I saw your book via your brother's Instagram, it just grabbed my attention. One, because the front cover is beautiful. It's
Oh, thanks.
basically a brown, a real melanated family on a book about wealth, because
Yeah.
wealth and finances, it's quite a like a contentious issue in the black community. There are
Yes.
many reasons why
Mm-hmm.
there is a massive wealth gap. So
Yep.
anything that encourages our building of assets and having just more financial education for ourselves and our
Yeah.
family is an
Mm-hmm.
area that I'm particularly interested
Yeah.
in. So let's just start by introducing you. So tell us about, I say tell us, tell me, listening, about just a bit about you and kind of what came to the point where you decided to write a book.
Okay, so I'm Chantel, and I'm currently on maternity leave, but generally, professionally, I work as a training and awareness raising officer for the NHS. And it's not exactly a passion of mine, but obviously it's a job that I have to do to make ends meet. But my passion really lies in financial education and financial literacy, just making sure our community are aware of its benefits and just injecting that knowledge into the community itself.
Mhm.
And so, in terms of how this whole book came about, if I'm honest, I didn't really have the intentions of writing a book this year. The idea really came about because of my son, because I had my first child this year. And I was looking for ways where I could, build wealth for him. Because from looking at my own life, I didn't really have that opportunity to get access to generational wealth. So
Mhm.
I thought, okay, I can't let my son go through the same cycle. So I'm going to definitely put certain things in place so that, when he's growing up, he has access to wealth and, he has more of a choice,
Yeah,
basically. So
yeah.
that's where it all came about. So I started, reading books, doing research, and speaking to people that had, financial knowledge. And as I was going through that process, I thought it will be a good idea to have all this information in one place. And I thought, well, the only way to do that is to put it in a book or a guide or something. So that's where the idea was born. And I
Yeah,
thought, okay, I'm gonna, try and put this together and then try and get it published and then
yeah,
see how it goes from there. But that's
yeah.
basically how it all started.
And it's
Yeah,
incredible how children are a catalyst for
yeah,
a lot of the things that we want to do, we say we're going to do, because it's quite similar to me. I found that as soon as I had my children, it just
yeah,
motivated me and pushed me to
yeah,
really make the things that I believed in and cared about materialize into reality, just
exactly.
so that they
Hmm.
could see you know, that mummy does these things because children learn from what they see rather than what you tell
Absolutely,
them.
yeah. It's true. It's true.
Yeah, so
It's true.
have it being an example,
Yeah.
as well as teaching them the knowledge that we have, it makes all the difference. So
hmm
yeah, how old is he now?
He's 8 months now.
8 months. So you still
Yeah.
got a little bit of time on maternity leave.
Yeah, I do.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
that the
I do.
NHS are definitely going to need you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So, what do you think the difference of having the education about being financially aware and savvy makes on the trajectory of children and a family in general?
Yeah, I feel the knowledge just enables them to, the first thing I would say, enables them to make better financial decisions. So once you know better, you do better.
Hmm.
So things like, for example, instead of maybe going into debt, you would have like an emergency fund. So instead
Hmm.
of like, oh, perfect example would be living beyond your means. So
Yeah,
just because maybe you make a certain amount a month doesn't mean you have to live up to that salary. You could,
yeah,
live just a little bit below it and save the rest and then invest it. So
yeah,
that's where the difference is. So I
yeah,
think once you have that knowledge, you would know, okay, even though I'm making, this is just figures off the top of my head,
yes,
even though I'm making, let's say, £2,000 a month, I don't have to spend 1,009. Maybe
yeah,
I can spend maybe 1,001, and then the rest I can save, put some in an emergency fund or put some in a savings account and then
yeah,
invest it later. And then
yeah,
if you keep doing that continuously, month after month after month, that's how you start to build wealth. And obviously you invest in income producing assets that
yeah,
would, appreciate in value over time, and that's how wealth is built, really.
yeah.
But when you don't have that knowledge, you just really live with no kind of sense of direction, or
Yeah, or
and that's
boundaries.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
And there's just so
exactly.
much to contend with for young people because
Yeah.
we live in a capitalist state and a capitalist
Yes.
environment that encourages people to want and buy and dispose, want and buy and dispose, and that things
Yep.
are replaceable. So
Yep.
the pressures that come along with society, I think, has really made it difficult for
hmm
for younger black people to understand the importance. Because one of the things that I have come across from just the conversations I've been having, from the research that I have, that
hmm
what others think about us as a community
Yes.
kind of is in the center
hmm
of why a lot of the time younger people make wrong decisions. They want to be flashy, they want
Yeah.
to, they want to
Yeah.
stun on their social media. They,
Yes.
you that's why you'll see boys buying expensive Range Rovers, but they live
hmm
with their parents, or they live
Exactly.
in a hostel, or they live in a one-bedroom flat. And buying a car, it depreciates from, we know, as soon as it leaves
Exactly.
the showroom. So,
Exactly.
there, I think as well as education about finances and making the right decisions, it's also about,
hmm
I'm hoping that they can understand the education around just what really matters in life and what doesn't matter so much. So,
Exactly.
and I know that your book, you don't just talk about finances, but you also talk about your perspective so it's relatable for others,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
think is a really, really good approach.
Thank you.
So, tell us some of the content and the chapters in your book that people can look forward to.
Yeah, so what I do is I start off just talking about my life a little bit, not in full detail, but just like a brief, you know, intro into, how I didn't have access to generational wealth and I didn't even know what it was.
Hmm.
And then I go into what I plan to do and what I want for the community in general. And then I go into the different topics, which includes savings, and I go into credit scores, ownership, investing, life insurance, estate planning, and then teaching your children how to, you know, build wealth, maintain it, and be able to pass it on as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's just those are the main standing out topics that I touch up on. So yeah.
That's good. That's good. And I think that's quite a good range because when I was maybe about, my mid-20s, and I never got into like crazy debt ever, but I definitely used my credit card, and I thought,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
if I need something, I'll just put up my
Yeah.
credit card.
Yeah.
And then, when you're younger, you forget that actually you have to still pay that back with
Oh
interest.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
just little things like I remember my sisters, they both work for the NHS, and they
Oh.
hadn't realised that they were paying a pension. So it got to a point where they found out they were paying a pension and that they could actually get all of that money back. And they did.
Mm.
They both pulled out. One of
Oh,
them pulled out
nice.
£7,000 and the other pulled out 10
Mm.
grand, but they didn't use it to invest or anything like that. They
Oh
just used it.
no.
They thought, oh my God, I've been paying all this money for all these years. And
Yeah,
looking back now, both of them are like, why did I do that? I had so
I
much
know.
money in my pension. And I know
Yeah.
people like I'm in my mid-30s, and I have been paying my pension since I was 25, and I've just never stopped. And I know people at my age and stage who don't even have a pension, full stop.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, having just something that they can refer to again, because I know
Hmm.
it's a parent's guide, but even when you get to your mid-20s, you can still read that book
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
educate
definitely.
yourself. So
Yeah,
it's good
of
that it
course.
teaches you to teach your children, but it actually
Yeah,
teaches you, full stop.
of course.
um
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, so how have what things have you changed yourself since kind of coming to this knowledge that you've gained from speaking to
Yeah,
financially aware people, and obviously doing your own research?
yeah. So initially, I had always been with savings. That was one of my strengths. That was probably the only strength that I had. That was the only strength I had.
I'm sure you've got more,
Yeah,
but yeah, I know
yeah.
what you mean.
That was the only thing when it comes to financial education. That was the only thing,
Yeah.
earlier on at the time. But after I attended my first financial seminar where I got to know a bit more about this whole generational wealth thing,
Mm.
I thought, oh my God, like, wow, so there's a lot more to this.
Yeah.
So ever since then, I started to, the next step for me was, okay, now you know how to save, but you need to try and take a little bit more risk and invest that savings because you can't save your way to wealth. So you're going to have to take some of that savings and invest it. So one of the things I've always wanted to do is to buy a home. So I knew that was one of the things I wanted to do, but I thought there must be, a lot more you can do to invest your money.
Yeah.
So, there's obviously you can start a business, but then at the time, I didn't really, and I still don't, to be honest, I didn't really consider myself business savvy. I felt
Yeah.
like, I don't really have much of an idea right now. I
That, that,
don't really
that,
know what.
that's too high risk.
Yeah, I thought I really don't know. And also the capital, I don't know if I've even got enough to start
Yeah.
something. So, I just thought, okay. But the funny thing is, I never really looked at um stocks and shares because
Yeah.
this is why I say when you don't have the knowledge, you don't really understand things.
Hmm.
So because I didn't really have the knowledge in it, I just felt like that must be a risky thing. I'm not even gonna touch that. I
Yeah.
just thought, you know what? Let
Yeah.
me just save up, buy my home, and that's how I'm gonna build wealth. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But obviously, with more knowledge, I thought, okay. I started to after I do more research, I started to like take the brave step and like for example, with the stock market, I started investing in the stock market this year.
Yeah.
Like after doing enough research and I gained confidence, I felt like, okay, I think it's time for me to actually get my feet a little bit wet and see how it goes. And ever since I've started, I every time I get paid, it's like I can't wait to put it in the stock market.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I know.
you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like for me, I would just say basically I'm able to save a lot better now.
Yeah.
And I'm investing more regularly now, but
Yeah.
more in the stock market.
Yeah.
And I'm just hungry for more knowledge. It's like I'm trying to find every sort of avenue or way to try and like make the best use of my finances. And
Yeah.
another thing as well is now I'm also exploring trying to create multiple sources of income.
Yeah.
So that's where my project in the financial education comes in. So writing the book, trying to create, like trying to extend that initial idea of the generational wealth book.
Yeah.
I've now extended it to, the workbooks, and then I've extended that
Which are
to,
fantastic.
oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've extended it to the flashcards now. But my thing is, me trying to create multiple sources of income. I want it to be like a beneficial thing for myself, as well as the people that I'm trying to
Yeah.
reach out for. So even though, okay, it's a multiple source of income for me, but it's also beneficial to the community as
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
if people get hold of my book, or get hold of the workbooks for their children, or if they get hold of the flashcards, they can also learn and, create a
Absolutely.
better financial situation for themselves. So
Yeah.
that's why I feel like I'm really happy about this new project I've been embarked on, because I feel like it will be beneficial to those that get their hands on the resources that I'm trying to
Yeah.
create, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. I've been trying. So my first experience with the stock market. So I work in an accountancy firm. I'm not an accountant. I'm a business developer and a marketer. But obviously, I'm surrounded by people who know a lot about mullah.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
when the post office listed their business, they were selling stocks and shares publicly. So you
Yeah.
could invest, it was a minimum of 750 into the post office. And
Nice.
it was like wildfire in my firm.
I can imagine.
Everyone started to buy stocks and shares. And I thought, these people know about money. They're on to
Yeah.
something here.
Being,
And again,
yeah.
like you said, when you have a knowledge and, they saw that, they saw that opportunity, that 750 minimum, which, a lot of them invested a lot more than that, as
Yeah.
wow, this is a quick way to actually, make some type of
Yeah.
profit. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I was very interested in how they saw that and why they saw that as such a massive opportunity. So again, I
Yeah.
started to talk to them a little bit more. We have a department with financial advisors, and I sit on the same floor as them, and I hear of
It's
them
great.
talking about, obviously, pensions, life insurance, like
Yeah.
investments, all of these
Mm-hmm.
things that certain groups of people know so much, and they're almost kind of monopolizing the and it is, wealth is
Yeah.
a monopolized area, because
Yeah.
it's just not like open to everyone. But I don't think it's not
Yeah.
open to everyone just because there isn't the capital there, because there are little ways, like you said, whether it be, saving £50 a month over a period of
Yes.
4 years, then you would
Yeah.
accumulate enough to either put a deposit down or, invest in
Exactly.
stocks and shares. So, there's
Exactly.
almost this notion that you have to have money to make money, which is correct, but
Yeah.
you don't have to be rich to make money. You
Yeah.
just have to
Exactly.
commit.
Exactly that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a very interesting like revelation to me. And
Oh,
again, I definitely change a lot of my behavior.
that's good.
I buy clothes in the charity shop. I'm such a conscious person about the environment as well.
Oh, that's
So
good. That's
I'm
good.
aware about creating wealth, and I think it's a very worthy and worthwhile thing to do when you're able to
Of course.
provide
Yeah.
capital for your family in the long term. But
Yes.
I'm also very aware of conscious investments and conscious wealth, rather than it
Yeah.
being based more on greed,
Oh,
where
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean, where people are
Mm-hmm,
just making money at every opportunity without thinking or caring about the resources
mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
is
I agree with
they're
that.
using, and the impact is on the environment. So you got all this money, but we're not going to have a world to live in. So
Exactly.
again, having a little bit of both sides to that
Exactly.
makes wealth less about capitalism and more about what it is about
Mm-hmm.
creating security for your
Exactly.
family.
Hmm.
So you just talked about your kind of ancillary products, your workbooks and the flashcards. Tell us more about that and how people can get hold of that as well.
Yeah, so with the to be honest, the flashcards were meant to be launched before the workbooks,
Yeah.
but because the printing company I'm using, they've most of their staff are on furlough, so it's a
Yeah.
bit like there's just a
COVID.
little bit under pressure. Yeah, yeah. So
There's no certainty
I
and
know, right?
for anything anymore. I'm telling
I
you.
know. So I've had to be a bit patient with them. So that it's definitely going to come, but probably first week of November or something like that.
Okay, that's
But
not
with
long.
the, yeah, not too long, yeah. But the workbooks is kind of like an extension of the flashcards. So with the flashcards, it just has a definition of, so it's basically financial literacy terms. So, you know,
Hmm.
you've got like mortgages, inflation,
Yeah.
you know, all those terms.
Hmm.
So it's just inside you would get the term,
Yeah.
and then you have the definition, and then after that then you have an exercise for the children to do just to
Yeah.
make sure they've understood
Yeah.
the term
What's
properly.
the age range?
Oh yeah, the age range. So I've got two workbooks, by the way. So one of them is for 5 plus
Okay.
and the other one is 7 plus.
Okay.
So with the 5 plus, it's, so what I've done with the 5 plus is there's the definition, then there's a bit of an explanation, because I feel like
Hmm.
because they're quite young, they might need a bit more
Of
support
course.
in trying to understand what the words mean. So I give the parents like examples of things they could use to elaborate further. So for example, in the 5-year-old workbook, there's passive income, for example. So I've given the definition in plain, very, very plain English so they can understand.
Yeah.
And then the explanation is just me telling the parents to explain to them that it's a sort of income that you can earn without not having to physically go into work. And I've also put an example like maybe writing a book where you write it once and you can continuously make money from the same product that you've produced just once. Or you can use like vending machines where once you've stocked it up, you don't actually physically need to be there for
Mm-hmm.
people to buy the stuff.
Yeah.
Once you've stocked it up, people will buy the stuff in the vending machine,
Yeah.
and you know, you go and see it maybe every week to top up, and then you
Yeah.
get your money. So it's a bit of like a passive way of making
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So I've kind of given them examples so they can actually have
Yeah.
interactive learning with the children
Yeah.
and explain things like, okay, this is what this means.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's the 5-year-old one, but the 7-year-old one is a bit longer because I've added a bit more definition. So I've added definitions of stuff like tax, will. I feel like those words are a bit more, I wouldn't say complicated, but I feel like for a
Yeah.
5-year-old, I think it
No,
might be a bit too
absolutely. Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of
Definitely.
left that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
put that
Yeah.
in the 7 years
Yeah.
plus one.
Yeah.
So then, yeah. So it's basically the same structure and the same format, but just a bit more, and the exercises are a little bit more challenging for
Yes.
the 7-year-old one. So yeah. So it's just basically depending on the age of your child, you
Yeah.
just pick whichever. Yeah. And if you've got children that fit into both age ranges, then you can just get both if you wish. So yeah.
Yeah. And have
Yeah.
you been thinking about speaking to schools or other
Oh yeah.
educational bodies about some of the work that you've been doing?
Yeah. So it's something that I've thought about, but I haven't actually like written down a plan on
Hmm.
how I'm going to execute it. But it's something I'm definitely gonna look into, because I've had, not just yourself, but I've had
Yeah.
quite a few people like say you need to kind of get this in the school system, because
Hmm.
this is not taught in schools
Yeah.
at all. So
At
it would be
all.
great for you to kind of try and get it in there so people can, you know, give it a
Exactly.
chance,
If
you
I think
know? So
about
yeah.
it, I mean, I have never used Pythagoras in my life, and I learned about
Exactly.
Pythagoras, yeah. I think
Exactly.
there is the clear argument for schools to have a look at their outdated curriculums and
Yes,
start teaching children the things that they actually are going to need to know, to help them
exactly.
make better and informed decisions about things that are going to
Exactly.
impact their everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've just got this, the Free Schools campaign being
Oh
spearheaded
yeah.
by Rashford, and you just think, we've got a government who don't want to back that campaign, and a government that
Yeah.
are saying, oh, we give money via the universal credit system, and
Yeah.
that's how children get fed at school, whilst not listening to the actual people on the ground to say actually a lot of the people who may be relying on universal credit may need to first put a roof under their child's heads before they feed
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So, there are reasons that make things quite difficult for families to be in a position where they can easily feed their children, and the government aren't
Exactly.
there to even support them when that's happening. So by instilling this in, your children, whether it be
Exactly.
via the education system or learning at home, it makes a
Home.
difference.
Yeah.
Because I've learned so
Exactly.
much from my children.
Oh.
We're learning about phonics at the moment, and
Oh,
she
nice.
picked up a picture of a prince, and she said, "Oh, mummy, what is this?" I said, "Oh, it's a knight," and she was going, "No, no, no, N." I was like, "Oh, no, no, this is the one that has two letters that have one sound." And she said, "Oh, yes, mum, a digraph." A digraph, sorry, a digraph. I got that wrong. And I was like, "A digraph?" She's like, "Yes, a digraph is
Oh.
a sound that has two letters but one sound." And I was like, and I went on my Google and it was digraph, and I was like, wow. And her
Oh.
homework includes making fresh pasta, and now
Oh,
I can make
wow.
fresh
Okay.
pasta because of my daughter's homework. So by teaching children, you also end up kind of teaching the whole family.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, exactly.
So no, that's a very, very good thing, and I would be so interested in how that
Oh,
goes. And
yeah.
even if you want me to speak to my daughter's headmaster to find out whether, because
That
it's
would
a
be
very,
great.
very entrepreneurial school, and
Oh,
I think
nice. Oh,
those are the
that's good.
ones that, yeah, absolutely, those are the ones to go
Mm.
for, because they are trying to teach their, they've got a school council,
Oh,
so
that's
the
great.
children actually vote
Mm.
on who they want to be the heads of their year.
That sounds amazing.
It's about democracy and the importance of voting
Yeah.
and having a voice. And I think financial education
Wow.
and awareness goes kind of
Mm.
hand in hand
In
with
hand.
trying
Yeah.
to build up their knowledge about life.
Exactly. That sounds
Exactly.
like a really good school.
It
Mm.
is. It
I
is.
like the
You know
sound of
what?
that.
It's in the top 2% in the UK, including private
Nice.
schools, and it's a publicly funded
Mm.
school. So we were very
Nice.
lucky that it's our location.
Mm.
Um, but yes, what was my? I did have a question that just popped out my head. Yes. So I mean, one, you were able to get your self-published. I know that you mentioned
Oh,
that
yeah.
you learned about self-publishing, but tell us
Yeah.
about the process from the idea all the way to printing.
Okay. So, yeah. So when the idea came, I struggled with the title a little bit
Mm.
because look, I knew um, who my target audience was, but I wasn't sure how. I was a bit skeptical of how I wanted to come across.
Yeah.
So initially, to be honest, the title was it was generational. It was always generational wealth, but the sub bit at the bottom where it says a guide for parents to a guide for parents to build wealth for their children. Initially, it was a it was a guide for Black families to
Yeah.
build
Yeah.
wealth for their children.
Yeah. Yeah.
So obviously, I went around asking my friends, like, what do you think of this title? And then I remember one of my friends was like, this idea is so good, but I feel like you should remove the Black out of there.
Yeah.
So then, you can widen your market.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking in my book, I actually state that, I want Black families to thrive. I want them to,
Yeah.
learn how to build wealth and stuff. But I don't know, I felt like maybe that title just wasn't the
I
right way to
understand.
go.
So it
Yeah.
is. I think probably why you were questioning it, why and this is just my assumption, is again you want to target the group that you believe that need this knowledge that will make a
Yes.
bigger difference in their trajectory and their
Yes.
lives,
Hmm.
while still wanting to provide knowledge for everyone.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm going to tell you, your front cover and seeing that it was a strong Black family in front of it, it took my
Yeah.
knowledge, and
uh,
it caught my attention, because it's something that I don't think any of us need to be embarrassed about, to say that we're on the back
yeah,
foot. We understand where some of that comes from. We understand the bigger issues and the wider issues that make it very
exactly. Hmm.
difficult for Black people and melanated
Yeah,
people to accumulate wealth. So
exactly.
um it's a book that would be picked up by the market that you've identified does need it.
Yeah,
So I
exactly. Yeah,
understand that why you removed the words black, but the photo
yeah,
represents it. But
yeah,
you're
exactly.
without having that in the title, and I don't I think either way would have worked, but I understand.
Yeah,
And again,
yeah.
whichever way you went, whether it was a face of a black family, which should not even be antagonistic or different, because
Yeah,
we see and we pick up books that have photos of white families, Chinese families, Asian families.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
but there's
exactly.
always a thing when it's black people, it
Mm,
feels political, it
exactly.
feels
Yeah.
very divisive, but at the same time I think what you've done, it does capture the right audience.
Thank you. Yeah, so I just felt like, yeah, okay. So I removed that part from the title and I thought, okay, I knew for a fact I wanted a black family at the front.
Yeah.
That was always my vision from the start. I thought, yeah, I need a black family at the front. Initially, I wasn't sure if I wanted like a real black family, like a real life picture or illustrations. But then after a while, I thought, you know what, let me just get an illustrator to
Mm-hmm.
illustrate that for me and stuff. And yeah, so did that, approached the illustrator. She helped me, did the front cover, and I was like, yeah, this looks really good. And also, I just wanted it to be a book that, it would grab people's attention, like, oh my God, that looks quite good. I want to see what is in
Yeah.
that book. So that's what, got me thinking, okay, if I can have a nice black family at the front with a catchy title,
Mm-hmm.
because they always say when you're writing a book, your front cover needs to be catchy. And
Yeah,
as simple as my front
it's
cover
basically
is,
your shop window. It's
yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
I'm gonna put, like, when I always edit things, these podcasts, I put pictures and photos. I'm absolutely putting a photo of your front cover. I think it's
Oh,
wonderful. I
thanks.
do.
Thank you so much. So yes, I thought, oh, yeah, I'm definitely having that. So after that, then I started writing, and obviously, like I told you, because I'm on mat leave, that bit was a bit challenging because obviously I was looking after a newborn and still trying to, like, put all my ideas together. And I was also at the same time doing research and watching YouTube videos just to get a bit more, a bit more in-depth knowledge, because it's like I had the knowledge, but I felt like I needed to go a bit deeper so then I could provide sufficient information for people to you know to to get into,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
So, but I think the most important thing about the book is the fact that I wanted people to hear my voice. I didn't want it to be a book like full of instructions, like, oh yeah, this is what you need to do to build wealth. I actually wanted it to be like, okay, I'm following this girl. Like, I'm actually giving them examples of what I do. So there's a bit in there where I talk about in the savings aspects, I talk about saving child benefit money. And I just explained to them that that was a decision myself and my husband made. We opened up an account. We start to put his child benefit in there every month, and we also top it up as well.
mhm,
And just giving people that step by step, you know, guide, just to let them know that this is what I'm doing as well, so you can do it too, sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Just giving them that relatable, like we discussed earlier, that relatable perspective. So I made sure my voice was very dominant in the book, so
yeah,
it's just literally like me having a conversation with you.
yeah,
So did the write up, went over it, thinking, okay, is there anything else I could include? And there was times where I had finished it, but then I'll come over, I'll come across some more information. I'm like, yeah, I need to include this in there. Like, to be honest, the bit about credit scores wasn't in there at all. I didn't
yeah,
talk about credit
yeah,
scores. I
yeah,
just left that out. But then I thought, you know what? I need to put that in there as well, because it's actually quite important when it
yeah,
comes to, like, if you want to buy property and if you
yeah,
want to invest in property,
absolutely.
credit is like one of the main things people look at. So I thought, yeah, I need to put a section in there about credit. So yeah, so did all of that. And then once everything was together, I then had to look for an editor to edit my book, because when you write a book,
Yeah,
you've been working on it for so long, you
yeah, you
might
need that.
miss.
Yeah, you need that
Yeah. So I
outside,
sent
fresh pair of eyes.
exactly. So I sent it off to an editor to read it for me. She took about, I think, 2 weeks just to go through everything, because she had other
Yeah,
work as well.
yeah,
Gave it back. and then I had to get it formatted so then it will be suitable to go on Amazon.
Yeah, yeah,
So I got someone to format the book, and then once he did the formatting, then I have to upload it on Amazon. So that's
yeah,
where the self-publishing starts. So it's so simple.
yeah,
It's just you just upload your work on there, your manuscript, and then you
yes,
upload your cover. And then once you've done that, they give you about, I think, is it 72 hours? Yeah, 72 hours just for them to review
yeah,
your book, just to make sure it meets all their criterias.
yeah.
And then once it does, then it goes live. And then once it's live, then people can start buying your book.
Yeah,
So
well,
that is
do you know
the
what?
honestly.
I've literally just gone on to your book just to read some of the really amazing reviews, and I don't know whether you see them or you look at
Oh,
them,
yeah, I
but
tried
it's
to catch up with them. Yeah.
yep, outstanding wealth of knowledge. Generational Wealth is a well-written book and contains a wealth of knowledge. It's very informative, educative, and all-round brilliant written piece. The author covers every area possible and gives great guidance to aid the reader in locating the best resources possible. I highly recommend this book. This subject is something that is missing in our schools, and the author has done an excellent job in providing such a guide that will enable parents and guardians to not only be enlightened, but to also be able to teach and instill in their children these vital lifelong skills and information that can be passed on. Kudos to the author. And I thought that that was a brilliant review that really captures everything that I
Oh,
thought and
thank
I've
you.
been saying about the book. And you
Thank
just
you.
have to keep on going down, and you won't be able to see, but you've just got
Oh, yeah.
so
Oh,
many
thank you.
reviews that really just show that what you've done and what you've produced
Oh,
is more than needed, because those who have
thank you.
taken the step to purchase it and to read it now hopefully will start to see step changes in their lives and
Yeah,
their decision
yeah,
making.
exactly.
How many have you sold so far? I saw that you'd got
Uh,
past the 200 mark, which is fantastic.
yeah, I know. I'm actually surprised about that, by the way.
Yeah,
Right now, I think it's now on 200 and I think 70 something now.
that's
So yeah,
brilliant.
so what I do is at the end of the week, I just check like how
Yeah,
things are
yeah.
going and stuff. So yeah,
That
so
is
yeah, 200.
brilliant for a self-authored first book
I
that's
know,
only
right?
been recently
Honestly,
released.
yeah,
It's fantastic. So I will do whatever I can to also amplify, the voice of your book and your
thank
voice
you
and
so
your
much.
views,
Thank
because
you.
again, I do think that it's something that everyone can benefit from, regardless of your race. But I think when you are a black person, having this knowledge just
Yeah,
gives you the right
yeah,
tools that you may not have had. Like you said, I come from a family where I definitely don't think that we were financially savvy at all. My mum
yeah, same
made
here.
money,
Yeah,
but she definitely spent money. We were next
yeah,
catalog, this catalog, that catalog.
yeah,
And it's little things like that, and I understand when you come from another country, coming from
yeah,
Ghana to live in the UK and you get a good job, you want to enjoy the fruits of your
yeah.
labor and be
That's true.
flashy, but it does get to a point where, again, having some of
Yeah.
that knowledge will
Mm-hmm.
you're able to set boundaries. And no one's saying that you only have to save and you don't have fun, but again, just knowing where to draw the line and where to
Exactly.
decide, cool, I'm going to set this aside for investment, like I said, this aside for saving, this
Exactly.
aside for my outgoings, and then every month I'm
Exactly.
going to treat myself maximum
Yeah,
£100,
you just need a
whatever it is.
balance, isn't
So
it?
like you
Yeah.
said, having that critical balance
Right.
makes
Balance.
all the difference.
Yep.
So what's next for you? I know that you've got the flashcards that's hopefully going to be
Yeah.
printed soon, and you have the school things. But is there anything else you're also thinking of?
Yeah, to be honest, I was thinking of how I could, extend things further, and I was thinking maybe I could consider maybe doing like courses and stuff like to do with financial
Yeah,
education, or like,
absolutely.
workshops, just to get it more, I just really just want to inject this knowledge into the community. So it's
Yeah,
all ideas that I'm thinking about, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
need to actually sit down and strategize and say, okay, this is what I want to do
yeah.
and this is what I need and all that. But that I would say I'm still thinking of different
Yeah.
things. So hopefully you should see more from me,
Yeah, well,
hopefully.
keep me abreast of all of those
Will do,
developments. And
yeah,
again,
yeah,
although my platform is not the biggest, but again, I definitely
yeah.
will do what I can to
Thank you so much.
spread the message and support what I think is a much needed initiative.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for
Thank
talking
you,
with
thank
me.
you.
I'll
Thank you
edit
for having
this,
me.
I'll put it up, and
Thank you so
I'll
much.
add the other resources, add the links and everything. So
Thank you so
again,
much.
thank you. And
Thank
yes,
you,
we
dear.
will definitely be, um, in contact again. I'm
Yeah.
with a 2 and a 4 year old, even though, like I
Oh,
said,
yeah,
I have
yeah.
some knowledge, but I like to also push them to resources as well, because
Yeah, definitely.
nobody wants to listen to mummy all the time.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I get what you mean.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah, cool. All right,
Yeah.
my love. Well, take care.
Thank you. You too. You
Yes,
too.
and I'll speak to you soon.
Definitely. Take
See you
care.
later.
Bye.
Bye.